Creating content at scale is definitely something that we're using AI for. We were probably one of the first people in the industry to use AI-led videos.
So what have you all done well to be a well-known brand almost in very, very little time?
The blue ocean strategy. Can we be the fastest at putting something out?
Brand in India that you really admire.
Nobody thought that EdTech should be premium, but GrowthX has done a fabulous job.
Building domain expertise.
Domain expertise is literally your sector, your TG. Your best success projects, Swapnil, which you own, will come slightly later in life.
Try to start your own ventures. Do you think that's the right thing to do for anybody in college today?
Yes and no.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the CXO show, the CMO edition. My name is Swapnil Kamat. The CXO show, as all of you all are aware, is a show that features some of India's most successful professionals. We're trying to do that across a broad array of fields, but the focus of the CMO edition, of course, is marketing leaders in India that have actually managed to do something which is very interesting and path-breaking in some way. The objective of this show is, of course, that each one of the listeners takes back something that they can actually apply in their day-to-day work life, something which is real, something which is practical, something which is implementable for there. So we don't just want to do an interaction, interview, podcast, whatever you'd like to call it for the sake of it. We want to do something that actually ends up helping people. Today, I have a marketing leader from a company that I have admired for a really long time now, because since their inception, I think this company has done a fantastic job in establishing themselves in the domain of wealth tech. Today, I have Yash Bhargava with me that leads marketing for Dezerv. Yash, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Swapnil. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here.
Like I told you pre-recording, I was genuinely very excited to have you on board because I think you and the entire team at Dezerv have done such a fantastic job of establishing yourself as a credible company in the space that you are in. And of course, the space that you are in is a very cluttered space, and you have so many incumbents in this particular space, right, that have been around for such a long time. But Dezerv somehow have come and done a really good job. And a lot of that, if you ask me, is because of the way you all have gone about presenting yourself as a company, marketing yourself, branding yourself extremely well, right? So kudos to you, the founding team, and all the people involved in putting Dezerv on the forefront.
Thank you. Yes, Swapnil, you've been very kind with your words, and it's been an absolutely thrilling journey over the last a year and a half or so that I've been part of this brilliant team here at Dezerv. They're really kind of trying to do things differently. I think there has been disruption in a lot of ways, right? You get your food quickly, you get your entertainment on demand, but somehow the way you manage your money has not changed ever since probably, JP Morgan founded the House of Morgan in the 1800s in New York. And I think I resonated with what the founders mentioned about, why there's a different need, why now. And I think all of those things stood, extremely important to me and stayed with me. And that's why I felt that I have to be here, right? I have to join this company.
Amazing. You'll have done a fantastic job. Just for people to know you a little better, my team often gives me a formal introduction of the person. I think that's important because otherwise people listening don't really know why they should listen to you. So I'm just going to do a quick read of that, right? So, Yash is somebody that's built brands, and also crafted marketing strategies that connect powerfully with India's most ambitious and high value audiences. Before he joined Dezerv as their head of brand and content marketing, Yash used to be at Waterfield Advisors and Avendus Capital, where he played a key marketing role in terms of their rebranding and did high impact partnerships with CNBC and Fortune and digital strategies that really brought in thousands of H&I leads and massive business growth. Yash has a very interesting background because Yash, made headlines earlier as a teen entrepreneur. And I also want to know a little about that, Yash. So you have a flair for the vision and the execution both. And in 2016, he was featured in the Hindustan Times as India's teenage CEO and was also a speaker at the U25 Startup Summit in Bangalore. So clearly both vision and execution goes hand in hand with him. And of course, to Dezerv, Yash brings over a decade of experience in marketing to India's most affluent segment, which is, if you ask me, one of the most difficult segments to target. So, Yash, you have a brilliant background. And before anything else, I want to ask you a little about the teenage CEO and tell me a little about that, because that sounds so interesting to me. What was your venture about? Why were you nominated as a teenage CEO by Hindustan Times? Tell me about that before anything else.
Yeah. So funny story, right? I was in college and I was getting very bored because college used to get done at like 12 noon and then you have like a whole day to waste. So, what started as a quick pocket money idea where basically we were telecallers at that time. Would pick up the phone and sell spa booking software to spas and salons at that time. And essentially, that turned into a social media mandate for some of these spas. And essentially we realized that we're good at it. We're good at designing. We're good at social media. We're good at marketing. And we felt that, this telecalling business is not going to scale, right? It's going to be good. Like you make some pocket money-ish amount, but it's not going to be something that will give you fulfillment or that will help me kind of direct my creative energies anywhere. So, in one of those telemarketing calls, we were trying to sell a software to a salon and they said that, while the software is great, could you help me with my social media, right? At that time, Facebook marketing had just gotten, and everyone wanted to be on digital marketing, right? And I said, why not, right? At that age, like I think I was probably 18 or probably 17 and a half at that time. And I said that, yeah, why not? Like, you always say yes to incoming business, I think. So we said yes, and we realized we were good at it somehow. We did a decent job with them. And then, word of mouth kind of started kicking in. And essentially what we essentially became was a creative agency. So we would take up everything from rebranding to social media to brand identity to advertising. Eventually we went into website development, mobile apps at that time. So like the whole gamut of digital and creative services, right? So that is basically what I started when I was 18. And that was my foray into marketing. And over the next 3 years till I was about 2021, we did about 100 odd clients, some 400 projects, right across hospitals, D2C, F&B, restaurants, all of these kind of places. So I think at that time I met this one journalist who was very excited to know about this. And she was doing a piece on how the young people in India at that time were, giving away parents' money or saying no to parents' money and trying to build their own businesses. And luckily, I was at the right place at the right time. She met me at a networking event and she's like, we're doing this story and would love to share yours with the rest of the community.
That is so interesting. And tell me, Yash, how did being a entrepreneur help you in then later on going to these really big brands and being in their marketing teams and now heading content and brand at Dezerv? Tell me, how does being an entrepreneur help in that regard? Because I also see that you have a little bit of sales background, right? So you started by doing a little bit of sales, then you became an entrepreneur in the domain of marketing, and then you went on to now being marketing head, content head, brand head for these brands. So tell me, how does being an entrepreneur help in your current role?
That's an excellent question, right, Swapnil, and a very important one. And I think I give a lot of my, wherever I've come from or wherever I'm currently at, I think a lot of it is to do with that origination story. Because an entrepreneur essentially means ownership at some level. And an entrepreneurial quality really helps you take some really bold bets. It helps you defy some of the things which are already happening because the worst thing I think that you can do is slightly acquire the baggage that has been there from the previous teams and do the same things over and over again, right? Allowing your entrepreneurial quality to come in. I just wanted to do things differently. I wanted to do beyond what was asked of me because that's what drove me to start my business in the first place. So I think that quality really helped me to go above and beyond and take ownership, drive results. focus not on vanity metrics, but trying to actually solve a problem. So I think some of those qualities of entrepreneurship help me succeed and also then kind of grow at a faster pace.
That's such an interesting answer, right? Because actually, marketeer after marketeer that I speak to, I think, I've been a part of my first job was at L'Oreal as a brand executive manager, whatever you'd like to call it. And one of the things that really helped me back then was the fact that I was associated with my father's business earlier, a very small IT hardware shop where I was actively involved in doing sales, right? So that, ability to really talk to a lot of customers and do sales helped me so much in my role in marketing back then. And I see that you have a bit of both, right? You have you had the sales because you actually started picking up calls and doing cold calling. So you know what it means to talk to a customer and, people banging the phone on you all the time, and how difficult it is to actually close anything, close any deal, right? So I'm sure your sales team and your business development team here or in your previous organization, you could really connect with them a lot more because of that kind of sales background that you had starting out. But even the entrepreneurial background can help so much, whether a person eventually pursues entrepreneurship or not, right? They could be a part of a larger team. But I think that experience and a lot of the things that you spoke about, right? That the ability to take ownership that you spoke about, that's so important and make or break,
Absolutely.
right? The ability to take bold bets, that's something that your entrepreneurship journey probably trained you for in some way. And also, not the vanity metrics, but, going into something which is absolutely real, and trying to solve it for that, right? I think, Yash, one of the struggles that we have very often, somebody who's entrepreneurial in nature, is that we cannot stand vanity metrics, right? Because it just doesn't seem real, right? And as somebody in your position, I think that matters a lot. Would you suggest, Yash, for somebody in college right now to take up part-time jobs, try to start your own ventures? Do you think that's the right thing to do for anybody in college today?
It's so individualistic, Swapnil. I'll tell you very honestly. Today, when I look back, I feel that should I have there's a reason why my agency didn't go as big as I wanted it to, right? Because somewhere I was too early. I had never worked in an organization. Forget working, I never even interned at that time. So I didn't know how a structured organization looks like. And I was here trying to create one.
Got it.
Right? And I was just, making a lot of mistakes. I feel that had I had maybe 2 years of actual structured job or an internship experience, I would have had maybe utilized some of those learnings of delegation, organizing people, hiring, talent, management, all of those things, right? Could have helped me, because I'll tell you what we had really going on for us was we were producing great work. But if you ask me, was I building the best org? I was not, right? And because I didn't know what a best or an ideal org looks like. So I think, would I recommend somebody in college right now to start their own venture? Yes and no. I think definitely get some kind of an experience under your belt, even if it's unpaid, even if it's right. Just try to be at the center of the action, though. Even if you're trying to, if you're going on an unpaid internship, try to be in a very relevant team, a team which is at the center of the action, right? Absorb, shadow, follow, and then eventually, if you're able to have an entrepreneurial experience of your own, I think nothing like it, right? Because both of them put together will set you very well for your career journey.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I
think that's a fantastic answer, right? I think I think there are some people that's what I keep saying, right? Entrepreneurship is for those that can't help but start their venture, right? So if you're at that stage where you can't help but start something, then start it. But otherwise, I think, like you mentioned, I think a very important part of what people in college can do right now is try to find paid internships, right? Stuff like apprenticeship in India is very, very underrated as compared to, places like Germany or a lot of different countries. And I know that the government is making a push towards it, right? And they've come up with so many schemes, but I think that needs to be in our mainstream, because all of us know that's where the real learning happens,
Absolutely.
in some way. Yash, you've spent a lot of time marketing to affluent people, right? Before I ask you marketing specific questions, tell me, what are some of the things that you have learned from these affluent people in your journey of trying to sell different products? Is there a few things that really stand out to you that were like, I'm learning a lot from these people I'm trying to sell to or market to?
Yeah. No, I think I've been fortunate enough, Swapnil, to again somehow land into financial services marketing, specifically wealth and capital markets. I've had access to some of these people, but I think some of the learnings are that one, this is a very large number. We might think that, right? When I was in Avendus, I think the target segment was slightly different. At Waterfield, that segment became extremely high. Like, I think I remember when I had joined Waterfield, they would not even accept a client below 50 crores of net worth.
Okay.
At Avendus, I think that number was somewhere at about 15 crores. Right? At Dezerv, that number is at about 50 lakhs. Right? So I've seen these three, even at the top of the pyramid, looks very different from the tip of the pyramid. So very different characteristics across these. But some of the things that I think I've learned is they utilize money to make money, right? I think that is like the fundamental thing, right? Very rarely will you see them using their time to make money, right? They always use money to make money. So their money is working even when they are not. They are sleeping, they're traveling, they're enjoying their life. I think one more thing which I have learned from them, and this is very kind of interesting, that they are very quick to notice something which is not part of their environment.
Give me an example of that. That sounds like a very interesting. Yeah.
Right. So whenever I tell my teams, right, like attention to detail, and I'll tell you why. The reason is that they drive the best cars, they stay in the best hotels, they shop at the best brands. Now, if you see all of the kind of brands, right, whether you're driving a Mercedes, and you're staying at the Oberoi and you're buying, say, a Gucci, the thing is that all of these brands pay so much attention to detail.
Wow, that's
that when they use any other brand in any other part of their life, they're very quickly able to say whether this belongs in their environment or not. Right? So that's why, the quality of the paper that we use to print our collateral, right? The colors that we would use, the fonts that we would use, they all have to appeal to that segment. And that's why, our collateral, our marketing needs to look premium. It needs to speak to a certain kind of audience, and because it's required, otherwise they will just not pay attention to us. So it's not so much as vanity, it's a necessity, right, for us. So I think those would be like, some of the things that I've come across, at least in my learnings.
So two things that came out, right, is they focus really on letting their money make money, right, and not their time make money. So they're very particular about that, I think, which is another way of saying that, the affluent are extremely particular about investing in the right fashion, right? That's something which is priority for them, and the second thing I think that you said is they have a great attention for detail, right? And I like, how you connected that to maybe because they're used to doing the best of the best, and that's why their attention for detail goes up, which they use in,
subconscious about it, right?
Yeah. But I can totally relate to that. What's the one thing that shocked you? What's the one thing that you were like, I'm pretty shocked that, even very, very affluent people still kind of focus on something, or tell me something interesting there.
I think, and this is slightly counterintuitive, but just because they are wealthy or affluent does not mean they do not understand the value of money.
That's so interesting. What do you mean? Right? Tell me a little more.
So even if, in my previous organization, I would be speaking with a billionaire, or I would be inside a room with one of them, they are pretty still adamant about reduction in cost, right? So just because they have a lot of money doesn't always mean that they don't value money, or they don't understand the value of that, right? They're quite analytical about it. Because at the end of the day, they're like, it's not about the money, it's about not fooling me or shortchanging me, right? Like I just feel that they feel insulted if somebody is like, why does it matter to you, right? No, it's not about whether I can afford or I can fund it. It's about would you do the same if I did not have that much amount of money?
Right? That's interesting. Yash, quite a long time back, I had, one of these comments that you just riff about, right? So I was dealing with somebody that was extremely wealthy, and I passed a comment to somebody saying, why do we even care about, this much of an amount, right? It's not even morning change, and somebody sitting there, I don't even remember who, but somebody sitting next, he said, yaar, wo wahan pe pahuncha hai because he cares about all these things.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So he cares about all these things, and that's the reason why he's there. If he didn't care about it, he wouldn't be there to start with. And other really kind of wealthy people that I've dealt with, in a lot of ways, nothing is too small in some way, right? And especially, I'm assuming you're talking about a lot of people that are self-made wealthy, right? Because I guess the attitudes of a second or third generation of wealthy people that have not made their own money, right, could be slightly different from these people that I think you and me are referring to, right? Of people that are self-made wealthy.
I mean, we like to call them first-gen wealth creators here at Dezerv.
Correct.
Right? They are folks who have either who are first-time founders, or people who have experienced high liquidity events through the startup revolution that's happening in the country.
Correct.
Or they are from the top B schools and they have consistently outperformed in their corporate journey and are CXOs, right?
Correct.
All of these folks, right? They might not come from extremely wealthy background, right?
Correct.
They might actually see a very large amount of money for the first time in their life.
Correct.
And that is very different for them. It's an alien feeling.
Correct. Absolutely. And I think, they, this entire thing that you spoke about is a lot of people think they won't value money, but, they value their money as much as anybody else for the money, and also for, they don't want that feeling of somebody having kind of fooled them in any way, right? Tell me a little about Dezerv, right? Yash, you guys managed, even in your time here or before that, to create a brand in, like I said, a highly cluttered area of work. So what do you think has gone right with Dezerv? What have you all done well to be a well-known brand almost in very, very little time?
Honestly, I am not sure if we've done well, but what we have definitely done are 2 to 3 things, I believe. One, and that's, I think, the most important thing. We've been consistent. Consistency is so important, right? I mean, you got to show up. You might not get the impact of that particular thing on that day or that week. But when you show up 3 times a week, 52 weeks in a year, the compounding effect of that is incredible, right? So I think one thing is we have been consistent, whether it's our video content, whether it's our written content, whether it's, being out there on social media, whether it's been at the right, sporting events, stuff like that. We've been consistent with that. Second thing which I think we've done differently is that we have tried to identify blue waters, right? Like if you remember the book, The Blue Ocean Strategy, the likelihood of your success is where, there are no other sharks in the water, right? There's no blood. So I think what we realized was that there are places where we will be beaten by the incumbents. And when I say incumbents, I mean in 2 ways. One, definitely way larger companies in terms of their funding, their marketing team sizes, their budgets. And the second are traditional services, right? People who have built distribution over decades, whether it's an ICICI or an HDFC, right? So for me, I think the incumbents are both new age players with larger budgets and fundings and scale, and the second are traditional players who've cracked distribution over decades. So how do you kind of beat them, right? And the idea always was that there will be some areas where we will not be able to beat them, right? But there will be some areas where we will beat them purely because of our nimbleness and our ability to be very close to our users.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll tell you how those 2 things work, right? One, can we be the fastest at putting something out? Let's not focus our energies on putting out for everything, right? Today, if the market drops by 2%, will I put my energy today to figure out why it happened? No. But yes, if on a Sunday morning, say Iran fires a missile on Israel, I will ensure that we are the first ones to communicate to our clients by Sunday evening, right? And clients respect that. And second is, I think that there are some places we'll not be able to beat them, like say the depth of their equity research, for example, in terms of their content. But can we talk about content which matters to our users, but no one else is talking about it. And I'll tell you, right? For example, some of our content is non-financial in nature, but it is content that plugs into the lives of our users. For example, can we speak about citizenship by investment? The incumbents are not talking about it. Can we speak about topics like elite boarding schools in India, pickleball, all right? Stuff like that, which is extremely relevant, but information is either absent or scattered, right? So I think these are the two places. Can we be agile of things that matter? And can we find blue areas where incumbents are not talking about?
Fantastic, man, Yash. Let me tell you a few things that I've really liked. And I'm only saying this because I've been following you all on social media. I've been following you all for a long time, and that's why my excitement to talk to you all. Number one thing that I think you all have done really well is just your branding, right? And if you're trying to target, like you mentioned earlier, the affluent, there needs to be that taste and refinement that needs to come across in everything that you do, right? So I think you all did a very good mid path of it looks very new age tech, but yet, branding wise, it also looks like something that is meant for a, certain type of a customer, right? So I think that's one thing that you all did brilliantly. The second thing, Yash, I think, I'm a big fan of a lot of stuff that you all post on social media, right? Because exactly like you mentioned, I don't want to know every detail of the market dropping by 2% because I'm not a trader, right? I'm an investor, right? So
a long-term wealth creator.
Exactly, right? So if you're not a trader, as I'm not a trader myself, and like 100% of my money is in equity in some form through mutual funds and otherwise, but I'm a long-term investor. So for me, that drop of 0.5% of rise of 0.5% makes no goddamn difference to me, right? In some way. But the content that you share around other things is very interesting for me, exactly like you mentioned, citizenship, right? Or, something interesting happening in boarding schools. All those things are interesting to me that you all put up as against some, drop here or there and what happened that everybody from CNBC onwards is analyzing and speculating about, right? So that's the second thing. I think I kept showing my team back in the day saying, these are the guys that are doing really good content, right? They know what they're doing. So that, and I, till you spoke about it, I would find it hard to put my finger on what I would like, right? But now I know, you helped me put the finger on what I like. And the third, the thing that you spoke about, consistency as a marketer, Yash, is so goddamn important, right? Because I'm sure when you all started your podcast, right, with your founder, doing such a fantastic job with that and, seemed like totally committed to the process of doing that podcast week after week after week after week and not bringing in your typical personalities. But I thought that consistency that you all brought about was very, very important because, as a business media company, we end up making podcasts for other companies and we need to sell them on the fact that, listen, this is not a 1 episode, 2 episode, 3 episode thing. This is something that you need to do over the years and you need to be consistent.
It takes a long time to crack it, Swapnil. I'll tell you, and if you want to really do a good job, right, there are hacky ways to do it. And there are consultants, there are agencies that will help you get the hacky views. But if you want to build a genuinely good quality podcast that you want your actual audience to listen to, the ones who will actually buy from you, right? Not those who are randomly wasting time on YouTube and probably hit your podcast because the thumbnail seemed clickbaity enough for them to know, right? And they will have absolutely nothing to do with your business or product. If you want, right? So that takes time because it requires, it's a learning process, right? And you have to kind of, it's taken us months to figure it out. The hypothesis, right? We are obsessed with it, right? What is the hypothesis? Will this video idea serve the hypothesis that we have of why people watch our content? Right? I think we always pass that by that we might have sometimes we've had great guests, people who are very difficult to even access, and we've had to say no because my hypothesis would not work, right? We've so like there's this we were debating between this person who's extremely renowned in the traditional services space, right? Like I think his family is the largest spices exporter or something like that, right? And then we had another CEO of a luxury automotive this thing, right? So I know which video will work, even though probably revenue wise the spices business would be bigger. They would be catering to probably 1 billion people, right? but my hypothesis would not work. Right, so I have to be very. So I think that learning curve has been fantastic.
Yeah. And just in your space, I must mention for anybody listening as well. I think, to your brand and Zerodha, I think are the two people that really know what they're doing, right, in this particular space. Because even the way Zerodha goes about their stuff, right, is fantastic, right, and in a similar vein as y'all, in some way.
I think it's. I mean, what they have is an absolute beast of a content engine.
Yeah.
I mean, I admire and respect Zerodha so much.
Yes, me too.
With their entire thought process, the way they are thinking of literally dominating new age media.
Yeah.
Right. You would rarely see Zerodha on CNBC.
Yeah.
Or 18 Hour Money Control. Yeah. But you will see Zerodha on YouTube on a everyday basis, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I just think that they have really figured it out with their 01 network. I think what they're doing is fantastic.
Fantastic. I couldn't agree with you more, right? And, everything that they're doing, and again, I keep getting that similar feel with your brand as well, right? That everything that they're doing always has a little bit of a long term in mind while doing it, right? And it's not just what am I going to get right now as an ROI, the next day in some way. They know that these are the things that you need to do in order to build a sustainable, long term brand that is robust. And yeah, I think both of y'all are doing a fantastic job and really, really know what they're doing. Let's talk a little about AI, Yash. What's a podcast without a discussion on AI? Right?
Oh,
and so I have a lot of questions for you, because the thing is that all of us listen to these podcasts on AI, but it's very, very important for me to get answers from practitioners like you, right? In terms of what is actually working on the ground. While, this software might seem amazing, and there's an amazing tweet thread about what it can do, but when it goes in the hand of a practitioner, what's working, what's not working, I think that's buzz, and everybody wants to know about that, right? So first question is, as somebody that leads brand and content, what in AI or what AI tools are you using a lot and are working fantastically well for you, right? Where you really feel like, man, the productivity of me and my team has really gone up as a result of this tool. So tell me about those tools or something in that area that's really working.
So I think, you've got your usual suspects, right? Like your Claudes and the GPT. But I'll tell you, for us, see, we're very clear that AI is very important, right? First and foremost, each and every one of us has a pro subscription, right? So we really use it to its full extent, limits possible, right? But I think what we have been doing is trying to figure out how can it help us become faster, but not generic. And I'll tell you what I mean by that, right? We understand that creating content at scale is difficult, right? And we have a lean team. We have 2 writers currently, right? That's it. So, but we need to be present across formats, right? We have a very deep newsletter that goes out, which is one of the most loved newsletters in the business ecosystem, right? About 500,000 subscribers on it, right? And it goes out every Sunday. It's a 2,000 word deep dive, right? Now, if my writer is going to spend a lot of this time on figuring this 2,000 word newsletter, how do I ensure that I am on top of the latest trend that has come out? For example, I'll give you a small example. Yesterday, with the golden visa that came out, Dubai, it's being talked about. So if suppose I was to create content on it, right? And I have my original perspective or my founder's original perspective, how do we put out stuff very quickly? So I think creating content at scale is definitely something that we're using AI for, right? Where it's not doing the first thinking for us, but it is definitely helping us in execution. Honestly, we were probably one of the first people in the industry to use AI-led videos, right? So a lot of short form content that now is going out on our channels is not even Sandeep. Because I'll tell you where it starts helping, right? Sandeep, who's our founder, is a very known, he is almost like the second pillar of the brand, right? I think the brand rests on Dezerv and Sandeep put together. Now, which means that he is extremely important for the brand to kind of keep going up. But as a founder of a high growing company, right, rapidly scaling, Of course, we can't demand that much time from him. It's great in the beginning, right? Founder-led branding is incredible. But how do you continue it, right? I think that those are places where AI solves that beautifully well. Right? I mean, you still get a human interface to deliver the same insight. It's just that it costs us probably 1/40th of the actual cost for Sandeep, right? It takes us probably, I mean, 2 quarters ago, it used to take us 4 days from script to posting. Today, that has come down to 8 hours. Purely.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
Purely because of AI.
Yeah.
Right? We don't need a camera crew. We don't need a studio or shooting place. All of that. And we don't need Sandeep's time, which is the most important thing, because founders are notoriously difficult to catch.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in the morning, I would see them in the office. By the time I go have my lunch, they would have flown out to another location to do some other kind of meeting. And I'm like, hey, wait, I wanted to do this with you. So I think it really helps in solving a lot of that. Right? So I think AI is helping us in video content. Now that, and the best part is we did the hard work. We wrote about 200 newsletters. Swapnil, we have written we've not missed 200 Sundays.
Amazing.
Not a single one. That now we have fed all the 200 newsletters into AI, because now it is able to understand our tone structure so well that it is helping with structuring. It is helping us. I don't need a larger team anymore to put out more content. As I said, I have 2 writers. Initially, they were doing 2 content pieces a week. They are able to do 8 content pieces a week.
Got it.
Right? So I think that's a little bit of how at least my view is on.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to do a quick summary. Like I said, this is we're trying to use this as a learning podcast, so I don't want people to get lost in the woods. So I think for you, as you're seeing it, that AI is helping you do things faster. I think that's a important point that you raised. Therefore, it's helping you deal and do content on scale. Right. I think that's important. I think the third point that you shared was around how with a smaller team, I guess because of this speed and because of the assistance you get, you can extract a lot more out of, smaller teams than you probably would do earlier. I think fourth thing that you said was around, especially because the founder is such an integral part of your brand, you can really leverage on his face in some way and generate a lot of video content that wouldn't be possible otherwise using AI, right? So I see that you guys have really, taken up to it and really using it very well and really, really smartly. What are areas which are overhyped in terms of AI, right? What are the areas that people think ye chalega par actual nahi chal raha hai? Anything like that comes to your mind?
I think one of the areas where I see Twitter threads about, you don't need a CMO. I have built this AI agent CMO for you. I think that is nuts. At least, and I might be, it might be true in another 1.5 or 2 years, the way AI is growing. But as of today, if you ask me, if somebody blindly just thinks that, AI can do end to end or can be your CMO, I mean, some of these clickbaity Twitter threads are just like they really make my blood boil. It can't do that as of now. Because it can't. It really needs a pulse of the organization on a daily basis. It needs the pulse of the users, the problem statements you're solving, and it needs to give out unique solutions. Which are currently it's not. I mean, if everyone uses the same CMO, I swear to God, Khan's Lion will have the same campaigns. Right. So I think like I think it's still overhyped.
Yeah. But so do I. Balaji, who's one of the tech gurus of the world and quite a visionary, he keeps talking about this interesting concept where he says, at least as of today and for the longest time, AI is not going to be end to end, but it's going to be middle to middle. Right, which is a very interesting idea, right?
Absolutely.
That when you lead a marketing function, it's very often it's end to end, right? You need to understand stuff, and that's not something that AI can do yet, because we don't know what the future is going to throw up currently, right? But it does middle to middle, and you need somebody to really weave all those middle to middles together, and that is the unique take, I guess, that is required, right?
No, I think, Swapnil, I think marketing automation has been here for a decade, right? I mean, when I think it came out, everyone said that, hey, you don't need email marketers because now there is a marketing automation. But you still need a person to hold everything. You will not be able to hold the AI accountable for metrics.
Absolutely.
Right? And I mean, honestly, I feel that what people thought of marketing automation is what people think of AI agents. It's great to have somebody who knows how to use it, will really be fantastic with it. But it's not going to replace, or it's not your solution to email marketing. It's a tool, and it should be treated as a tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to Yash, to think about it, right? That everybody has the same tools today, right? So it's not like your company is the only one that has a good chat GPT tool, right? Everybody has the same tools, and yet there are some companies that do a much better job in their marketing than some other companies. The tools are all omnipresent already, right? So if only the tools could do the job, then that's not the way it functions.
I mean, I can tell you today. I mean, the reason my GPT's output on a specific topic will be better is because I have fed it 200 original newsletters. So tomorrow, if somebody's like, I'm going to start with AI, I'm not going to put any human effort into it. I feel that, it's not going to be as unique as and as authentic as the one that has original input and context.
Yeah. No, and absolutely 100%, right? I agree with you on that, but I think it's also beyond that, right? So just for example, email marketing as a tool and the software has been with everyone for the past 15 years, right? But yet, you have some marketeers that use it really well and some marketeers that use it really badly, right? And I think it's the same thing with performance or influence or any of these different mediums through which they've been around for a while, but some people will use it better than the others, right? So, okay. So the one thing that you think is really hyped is where somebody says, oh, you won't need a CMO anymore, and, end to end AI, some bot will be able to do stuff. I think that's a good Twitter thread, but doesn't really hold its ground in the real world, right? Well, one of the things that you mentioned earlier, that it's helping you in terms of execution. The way I have seen AI work for me is, and it's become in a way my first partner in terms of ideation itself, right? And I feel, Yash, I'm almost addicted to it, to the point that if I need to ideate on just about anything, my first go-to partner is AI. And I kid you not, right? Over the last, I guess, 1 year since I've been very actively using these tools, I feel a lot more smarter, or I feel a lot more intelligent.
More sure of your thought process.
Correct. Yeah, no, but more sure, of course, no doubt about that, but also more intelligent, right? Because I'm like, all of a sudden I started off with one idea. Before I even brainstormed with anybody else, I am already prepared with 5 other directions in which, this could go, right? So I am a lot more smarter before I even interact with anyone as a result of this particular tool, if used well, right? And for me, again, I think a real game changer, especially Chat GPT, it's been the voice mode, right? Because, I like to talk into stuff, right? And then I use it so much more when I just need to talk into it, and ideate for it. So for me, it's really been a tool, not just for marketing, but across the board. I can see how it's making everything smarter, right? So, I think that's interesting. Just tell me about a brand in India who's, and of course we've spoken about Zerodha, so I want you to go, beyond that. But which is a brand in India that you really admire and that you think is doing a fantastic job as far as marketing is concerned?
Yeah, I think there are a couple I can think from different categories, right? And I think I love what Shashank does with Whole Truth. I think phenomenal brand play, very interesting. It's weaved into everything that they do, and I think I really admire how they have built their brand. Right, I think in startups or in young companies, there is always so much that it is actually quite a feat to hold your original hypothesis and continue it over years. Right? Because every year, either your product changes, your TG changes, your positioning changes, your pricing change. Just doing that cutting all that clutter and noise and almost zero distractions and keeping that original hypothesis consistent and relevant, I think is phenomenal as an achievement. Right? And I think whole truth is something is they have done that, right?
Yeah.
Then I think I admire Zerodha. I admire CRED. I might get some dislikes for this, and I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the business model here.
Yeah,
I'm talking about just the brand that they have built. Right? They are again very consistent, where they have built a brand around exclusivity. Right? Even though that their product is actually quite inclusive. I mean, I was just looking at the data when they said that only above this CIBIL score is, but if you look at India one, that's about, a significant majority of people who can be part of the CRED club. But I think just the way they have gone about it, right? I think I remember this one time, Sandeep, my founder, was telling me when Kunal told him that he would send birthday cakes to early CRED members in their office, not at their home. And he was very clear why it would never go at home. He's like, at home, your family will eat it and nobody will notice. When it comes in an office, you have to share it with everyone.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
It's like 30 people there. So I think some of these things that CRED has done to ensure that it is talked about, it is exclusive. And I think just their attention to detail, and their branding, I think it's been phenomenal. Another very cool brand, I think, which is in a very unique space, which is nobody thought that EdTech should be premium, right? But GrowthX has done a fabulous job in building that, right? And I know I'm not taking traditional brand names. I know I'm not
we don't
taking
want you
the
to.
Mercedes and the FMCG and the Unilever. But I think the reason why I want to share this is that it's very difficult to get the hypothesis in, and these are marketers who are quite young. They're quite young, early experienced folks who are really doing fabulous job, right?
Yeah.
They don't have 20 years under their belt.
Yeah.
But with the consistency that they build these brands, I think it's phenomenal. So I think that's what I would say.
What a fantastic answer, because I think all the brands that you spoke about are genuinely doing a good job. And I'm so happy that you didn't mention the typical brands, because these are all the brands that you mentioned are relatively young companies, right? And that are have made their mark so quickly by doing something interesting. Because, when you spoke about CRED, I think CRED has done probably the most fantastic job in the last 5 or 6 years of any brand, right? In terms of their marketing, because the combination that you spoke of actually being inclusive, but coming across as being exclusive is such a fine balance.
It's a genius play.
It's a genius play. And all the people that are there, working on that, because if I'm not mistaken, a lot of those campaigns are done by Tanmay Bhatt's company, right? And with a very, very direct, I think, brief from the founder and the core team, that really helps, right? Because even if you would
see their collaterals, right? Even if you would see their social media feed, you would see their app launches, their product feature launches, their all of them are extremely it's beautiful one to look at. They're very clever, they're very articulate, so I think it's wonderful.
Correct. And to really stand out, because if you remember, to come across as really exclusive, they were running a campaign with Govinda and a lot of the 90s stars, if you remember, right? Now nobody thinks of 90s stars as anything exclusive about 90s stars, right? But somehow they took that campaign, made it really beautiful, really tasteful, really witty, really stood out in the right way. So I genuinely think that they've done a good job, and I'm happy. I'm happy to see these homegrown brands really kill it in this way, right?
Because I think I'll tell you where this goes wrong. Also, There is a financial services young fintech company, largely broking. What they did was in my opinion, a horrible job. And I want to be bold about it because I want to share my views here. But they did this red envelope campaign where essentially they used AI images and then paid PR to say that this person gave a red envelope, which is very secret and exclusive, in an airport lounge. So they have actually shot scenes in a studio, tried to recreate it as an airport and pushed it through paid PR.
Got it.
Right? And it has come across as so unauthentic. Right? When they were trying to do exclusivity and secrecy, and they just used the wrong ways to do it. And you will see that it will not yield the results required. Right? So exclusivity and all that cannot be manufactured within a week.
I couldn't agree with you more, right? So, a lot of times that marketeers, Yash, talk about saying that authenticity is really important, right? For which you really need to know your brand ethos, for which you really need to know, what the brand is about. What is it actually trying to achieve as a mission, right? Everything comes out from that in some way. But this is not just something that you just say, right? Authenticity really matters to people because in a world which is, I guess, so cluttered, right? In some way, when you're being authentic, and very often, if you ask me, funny humor and funny ads really work well because there's a tinge of authenticity to any kind of humor, right? Which is there because it's like, I'm laughing at myself, right? I'm laughing at this particular thing. So authenticity matters, and often humor is a way of being authentic, right? To the consumers. And that's why it makes such a big difference. Hey man, I'm having such a good time having this conversation. Running out of time, but I have a couple of more questions for you, right?
Sure.
If I am I'm somebody coming out of college, right? And my aspiration is to get into the marketing domain, right? Let's assume I'm a BBA or a BCom or any graduate for that matter. I'm just graduating this month, and I want to get into. What advice would you have for that person if they want to become a CMO someday, or they want to, be at the top of the marketing game? What would 2 or 3 pieces of advice to them would be as they get out of college?
So I think this question is only for very, very, very few people in college, because I'll tell you, nobody in college knows what they want to do. Very few people are very clear about that they want to be a CMO, right? So to those people, if they already know they want to be a CMO in 10 years, they will figure it out themselves. But to a lot of other people who think marketing is a great career, right? And they want to stick to it, right? I think first and foremost, they need to figure out which are the kind of brands that they want to work for immediately. And everyone will say, I want to work for Apple, I want to work for Unilever. And it's not that easy. If your college placement is putting you there, fantastic, right? If you think of an MBA and IIM and that they will put you, great. Otherwise, I think a fantastic start is an agency life. Not for a long time. There are thousands of agencies, Swapnil, across Bombay, right? There are agencies as large as your Ogilvy's to as small as, Yellow Box or, these are 5 people teams working out of a small garage somewhere in Bombay, right? Get into an agency kind of a setup, right? Because, and for a short amount of time, I swear I don't encourage people being in an agency for a long amount of time. If you want to become really brand owners at some level or CMOs. So start in an agency, you will understand what a brief looks like, what a client brief looks like, what the expectations, how execution happens, right? So you will get to see something which you will have to do from a very close lens, right? And it's much easier to get into an agency than a brand. Once you're in an agency, right, you will start working on a few brands. I think that is the time to deepen your relationship with the brand. I mean, you should deepen it to such an extent that the brand wants to work with you, might hate the agency. If you can do that, that's when you make that flip into the brand, right? And once you're in the brand, start small, own few things, deliver, and honestly, give yourself some time. One thing which I see, and I see so many resumes, 1 year, 10 months, 1.5 years. I honestly, and sometimes they're doing it because they want quick career jumps, they want quick salary growth. I can tell you, if you want to do great work, you need to spend time. You need to spend time with the brand. You need to spend time in the space that the brand operates in. You need to spend time speaking to customers. All of this will not happen in 8 months. 3 months, 3 to 4 months, it takes you to figure out the company that you're working in. You know, figure out who in IT will fix your laptop if it goes wrong. So, give yourself some time in the brand that you have been. Right? And because your best success projects, Swapnil, which you own, will come slightly later in life, slightly later in the journey of the brand. So allow yourself that time and then start, I have been fortunate that I stuck to a particular space and I did not change. I mean, I have been in wealth and financial services and I've been in wealth and financial services. Right. There was not a single time I decided to even go into a slightly different field of financial services, like say broking. Right. So if you build deep domain expertise, right, you get noticed by the industry. And I think the quickest way, I mean, if someone wants to reach to the level is do great job in an industry where people your customer might or might not notice your work. If your network is noticing it, if your future employer is noticing it, there will be some path that will come to you.
Man, right? Yash, that was such a fantastic answer. I think that's such a practical and fantastic answer for anyone. I'm going to try to do a little bit of a summary of it. Tell me if I'm missing anything, right? So I think going into the agency is a fantastic idea and the most practical idea, if you ask me, right? Because if you're just going to sit there, graduating out of college and saying, नहीं, बस Unilever में job चाहिए क्योंकि वो बहुत marketing budget उनका बहुत बड़ा है सबसे India में, right? That's a wrong way of thinking because as it is, if you join one of these really large companies to start with, you're likely to be doing work which is kind of inconsequential, not for anything else, just because of the sheer kind of, setup of that place, right? So that's the first practical reason for you to join an agency, right? Now, between an agency and, being on the brand side, I think both of them have their pros and cons, and you've been on both sides, right, of this, right? So I think, and I didn't know this until recently, right? So I think being an agency, what happens is you get exposure to a large amount of things, a large amount of very different kind of work. And because agencies are small, they give you a lot of responsibility that really accelerates your learning curve, right? I think that's one reason to join an agency, accelerate your learning curve because of more responsibility. Two, just the sheer exposure that you get to many different things, right? That the agency could be working on. Even if you're not directly dealing with that client, but one of your colleagues sitting in that garage is dealing with that client. सुनने में तो आता है ना कि क्या चल रहा है, because a lot of the agencies proximity, I think helps a lot. And I think most importantly, I think a person needs to figure out whether they are the kind of people that like working on different brands or they're the kind of people that like working and building one brand, right? Because I think that is something which is a crucial thing to ask yourself. Because I know so many people, that used to be in agencies and moved on to the client side, so to brand the brand's end, and they're like, it's so boring. It's like I'm stuck with one brand and I can only do stuff with regards there. There as a creative, I was working on 4 different brands, right? So I found that so much more fun than just working on one brand, right? So I think that's the other question that a young person needs to try to figure out in their first 2 or 3 years of doing stuff. I think the other, Yash, very interesting thing that you spoke about is building domain expertise, because the way you're looking at domain expertise is very different than how other people are looking at domain expertise. People think domain expertise is just marketing. No, right?
No
domain,
way.
correct.
It's such a large universe. Domain expertise is literally your sector, your TG, right? If someone wakes you up and says, hey, do you think a person owning 1 crore is going to do this tomorrow? You should have the answer. And that means you know your TG very well. And if you know your TG very well, brands are going to line up, right? Can you be the marketer to market to the top 1%, right? And that means then you can sell anything to that 1%, right? Have you built enough domain? Like tomorrow, if Mercedes wants to come and say that, hey, I want you to kind of, market for us, or say a financial services wealth management company wants to come. You're marketing to the same person.
Yeah.
Right? You've built domain expertise in that TG.
Yeah. But, I was just thinking when you said domain expertise, even for somebody like you, because you spoke about how you started off with a 50 crore customers only to a 15 crores to a 50 lakh, right? And I'm sure even within that, you had to learn so much. For somebody else, unlearn so much, right? Because in some way you can club all of these in the HNI or ultra HNI bucket, right? But even between, somebody's with 50 lakhs versus the 50 crore, while all of them will fall in that broad bucket of HNI, ultra HNI, boss, the game I'm sure is very, very different, right? And you had to learn and unlearn so many things yourself. So most marketeers never talk about domain expertise from in a way, a sectoral domain expertise that you need to build. Because,
and I'll tell you, Swapnil, more likely than not, it's actually the sectoral expertise which will make your career go up or down.
Yeah.
Tell me today, when you see someone's LinkedIn, you will always see them moving up in the same domain.
Yeah.
Very rarely will you see people going from, say, a Lux brand manager to, Kotak. Right?
Yeah.
So that is the natural flow, and people need to be more deliberate about it.
Correct. I think that's a brilliant use of word as well, being more deliberate about it, because Yash, I think after a while, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? After a while, what will happen even to, say, your career is you'll also end up getting a lot of opportunities as a professional from other companies that may not be in wealth tech necessarily, but are still trying to target a wealthy person. Individual, right?
Yeah.
So of course, they may not be totally in that same sector, but they're sector allied in some way, right? Because at least the customer is the same that you're dealing with. But a lot of people don't keep this in mind when they're thinking about careers, and they only think of saying that, I need to understand performance marketing a lot better. Sure, you need to get a grip on that. There's no doubt that you need to get a grip on that, right? But this matters as much as that if you're a marketer, right?
I think with performance marketing also, right, Swapnil? For example, a performance marketer today, when wants to target a wealthy segment, right? For example, this is our learning at Dezerv. Cricket doesn't work for us. IPL does not work for us because the audience is muddied, which means there is everybody there who's watching that. You shifted to Wimbledon. Suddenly the audience changes, right? You are able to target your CPLs drop. Your number of leads increase, right? All of that will happen with the same spend, right? So I think even in performance marketing now, tomorrow that same performance marketer can use the same channel for a different allied brand who's trying to target the same audience.
Yeah.
Right. So you've built domain expertise not in the craft, but the TG, the channel.
Correct. The TG, right? I think that's so important, and I hope this is like one of the biggest takeout that comes across, right? Okay, Yash, final question. What excites you about marketing going ahead in terms of the field? Anything that you think is exciting as you look ahead in a domain that you've done so well in? Is it AI? Is it anything beyond AI? What is scaring and exciting you both?
I think definitely AI, and I feel like what excites me the most is that you will start seeing smaller and younger companies put out more and more creative ads. Creativity is not a moat just reserved for large brands with big budgets.
Wow.
I feel that with AI, with video generation, with script writing assistance and all of those things that AI is going to bring with it, right? You're going to see leaner and leaner teams, smaller and smaller brands, fewer and fewer budgets, probably get a Cannes Lion or get a fantastic campaign out there.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that to me is very exciting because I don't need a 1 crore ad film budget now to make an award-winning ad.
Yeah.
Right. And that means that, more creativity is going to come out, and I'm very excited for that.
Wow. I think the democratizing of creativity in some ways is the true power of AI. And I don't know what you think, right? Tell me about this. I think true creativity of the human being is going to be even more important. And a lot of people are calling that taste. Right? True creativity or taste of a person is going to become even more important, right? And, I had a friend that has a marketing agency, and, he built this, built or put together this music generating software, right, that he put together. He started making a lot of music of that himself and say, look at this, I can make this music and that music and this music and that music. I'm just doing it with prompts. I'm putting it out.
Yeah.
Yash, but the interesting part was, which I kept saying to him, I said, but I have only that much time to listen to music. Right? So the ecosystem could be generating 10x the amount of music because they have AI, right? 10x the amount of music. But my time is not increasing 10x to listen to music. I still listen to music for whatever, 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. So it's a war for both the human and the AI to create such a high quality output, right, that they win over my 15, 20 minutes music time that I have, right? And I think the same thing is going to happen to marketing, right? It's a democratizing of this thing, because you don't need a big budget, but the person that has the most insight, the person that has the most, the best taste, the person that has the deepest understanding of the consumer and AI in some way, right? And a good combination of this thing, I think those guys are going to be, that's lethal, right? But it's not just going to be the large companies, right, that are going to have that as their moat in some way, right? It's going to be,
I think one more thing that essentially will happen because of that, and probably another thing which I'm excited about. You will see lesser and lesser CMOs with gray hair.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Right. So essentially, you will see younger folks kind of being at the helm of marketing. And I think that's what excites me. Another thing, right. That, all of this there's going to be some, 18-year-old dude who's going to figure out great AI tools, is going to who will have the curiosity for consumer understanding, and he's going to marry, or she's going to marry both of them. And probably you're going to see younger and younger CMOs.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a fantastic note to end this conversation on. More and more young and dynamic CMOs. And of course, I think both of us are putting our money on younger and younger CMOs versus AI bots that are CMOs, right? If we had to wager a bet, I think both of us are putting our money on the younger black-haired CEO than the machine CMO, right? In some way. So good. Yash, fantastic work at Dezerv. Congratulations to both you and your entire company. I think you all are doing a great job with what you all are doing. I could have easily had another 1 hour of a conversation with you and learn from you of all the different things that you shared. I hope to have you on this show again very, very soon, and to continue our conversation, to delve into many different areas that we couldn't cover in the hour and 10 minutes that we had today.
Thank you so much for having me, Swapnil, and thank you for hosting and helping me distill so much of this into insights I hope your audience can benefit from. You were fantastic, and thank you so much for having.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to be back.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks. Bye.